Okay, I think we might get started. Um, hi, I'm Ben Coda. I'm the president of the CSIT Society. Um, and we've got Davis and, sorry, anyone else from ESRI?
Uh,
Hi.
and Marika,
Marika, yes, hi,
and
sorry.
and Uvin.
Yes, fantastic.
Hello, I'm
Yep.
Marika.
Yeah. And Uvin, you should be on there too.
Uvin, sorry I couldn't
There
see
you
your
go.
name
There you
there.
go.
Hi.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for joining us. We'll just start with an acknowledgement of country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, the CSIT Society acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, and we pay their connection to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders today. Thank you. And also in the interest of privacy, we will be recording this webinar. So if anyone has any concerns or issues or questions about that, feel free to let us know, and we can address them accordingly. Thank you. Great. Let's begin.
Cool, yeah, we'll pass on to Davis from ESRI.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks, guys. Hi everybody. I'm Davis, and with me today are my colleagues Marika Vertzonis and Uvin, and we're from ESRI's R&D Center here in Melbourne, Australia. So we're really happy to be here to talk to you about our work and the career and internship opportunities that we have available to students like yourselves in our Melbourne office. So ESRI is an American company. It's based in Redlands, California, and is a world leader in GIS, Geographic Information Systems. We have about almost 6,000 staff now and offices in major cities around the world, and of course, including here in Melbourne. And at a very high level, the company is organized, organized around the vision that GIS systems can help people build a shared understanding about the world we live in. And by doing that, it can bring them together to solve critical problems and improve our quality of life. So, and of course, we have many critical problems. Problems that are they're complex, they're interconnected. Climate change and natural disasters, loss of habitat, loss of biodiversity, overpopulation, resource shortages, and social conflict. And those are the kinds of problems that cross social and organizational boundaries, right? And because of that, they require and they're evolving problems, right? And they're dynamic. And so they really need a kind of shared view onto the world. And so this is something we see geospatial technologies as being as something that can really help address these issues, because what they do is enable people to gather and integrate data of all kinds and build these kind of shared building blocks of understanding. And so, these technologies, they help people build models, they perform analyses, they build visualizations. And, that opens these opportunities for understanding and collaboration. ESRI's core product is a GIS platform called ArcGIS. And we think of it as the world's most powerful mapping and spatial analytics software. If you've ever heard of ESRI before, it's probably because you've heard of ArcGIS. Now, if you know about ArcGIS, then you might come to think of ESRI as being only about maps and mapping, right? And that's certainly the core focus of what we do. But if you look behind the maps, behind the websites and the apps that we publish, mapping tools, what you see are many of the technologies that you probably already know and you probably already use. So Kubernetes and Jenkins and Docker and AWS and Azure and C++ and JavaScript and Python and REST and TensorFlow and so many more, right? ESRI is a technology company. And we built this incredible platform for collecting and querying and visualizing data that lives in space and time. And we use that platform to operate, some pretty significant websites and web services. We build, pretty rich interactive web and desktop and mobile apps, right? And we're engaged with IoT and machine learning at scales that really, that are comparable to some of the leading tech brands that you know about. So consequently, if you're a computer science student, software engineering, it's likely that you're going to find applications of technology that align with your interests in a company like ESRI. Now, that's possibly a bit abstract, and so what I want to do is I'll show you some of the things that we're working on. I'm gonna really fly through this part because the ESRI product offerings are kind of really large and really complex. If you ever watch any of the user conferences, and Jack Dangerman does a kind of overview of what's new. The what's new takes like a good hour, right? So this will be like a little micro snapshot look at what ESRI does, so you can get a flavor of it, and then we'll get on to what the Melbourne office does. So that's a bit closer to home, and you can understand what kind of opportunities that we can locally offer you. So really quick, so the core of what we do is mapping. It's geospatial science, so some of the things I'm going to show you are a lot of them are kind of new, or they're kind of new initiatives. And here's one. This is smart mapping, and this is opening up mapping to a much larger audience than otherwise may have been. This may have been accessible to in the past. This is about making mapping easier for non-specialists to create sophisticated maps, dynamic maps, things that people can interact with fluidly, and dealing with very large spatial data sets. And of course, we're building maps, and we want to use those maps for other ends. And of course, the core end is analyzing what's going on in the world, what's happening, where is it happening, when is it happening. So spatial analysis and data science. And here we're providing specialist tools to better support scientific analysis on very large data sets. And then of course, backing that spatial analysis and data science work is work in AI, looking at things like classification and object detection and time series forecasting, and integration into the broader data science ecosystem. And of course, you can probably recognize a lot of the names that pop up there in that little bubble on the side. 3D GIS. So a lot of applications here dealing with some of them are dealing with physical assets, buildings and infrastructure. And here, ArcGIS is now supporting 3D across the entire platform. So on the desktop and web and in mobile applications, you can work with all kinds of data sets, or all kinds of data in it, point clouds and LiDAR and BIM models, 3D meshes. It's a kind of interesting little example here on the right, this advanced visualization bit. That's a simulation of the fires that happened last year near Sydney. And they're looking at using those simulations to communicate to others, the dynamics of what's happening, but also trying to understand better, how they can deal with those kind of situations as they're unfolding. And again with the along the lines of analysis. So here's some examples of 3D volumetric visualization. And interactive querying of these 3D data sets, right? On both desktop and mobile applications. Drones, of course, and so again here, the aim is to build these kind of shared views of the world, and to do so in a cost-effective manner, which opens it up to larger audiences, right? And so ESRI has a number of products that look at end-to-end workflow of operating a drone, all the way through processing the captured data and turning the data into different kinds of products at the end of it. For example, just maps or 3D models and various kinds of analyses and reports. Real-time visualization, analytics, and of course, once you can do that kind of capture of the state of affairs of the world, you can also aim to do that in real time. And here we can see something like that happening with land and air traffic monitoring using the ArcGIS platform. And mapping is becoming a kind of more common feature in all kinds of other existing desktop applications. So anything from the Microsoft Office suite or Adobe Creative Cloud, the Autodesk products, Revit and AutoCAD, Civil 3D, and they're embedding ESRI mapping technologies inside their applications. And so we're partnered with them to develop those kinds of functionalities. Now, kind of closer to the end user part of the spectrum, ESRI has a number of kind of public-facing products, one of which is a dashboard. And this is a really impactful means of communicating like a really large volume of complex information in a, of course, in a digestible manner. You may have heard or even possibly used the Johns Hopkins COVID dashboard, which is this one right here. So Johns Hopkins is a university, and it's in a medical center in the US. A PhD student last February, March, I believe it was, put together a COVID dashboard using ArcGIS after their supervisor kind of suggested it would be a good idea, and assembled a team together to kind of continuously maintain and update this thing. And it became this kind of phenomenal resource. In fact, it was so popular at one point that it had a peak load at about 4 billion requests per day, which of course no doubt kept the ESRI staff and the AWS staff, on which whose infrastructure that ran, pretty busy keeping that going. But that's a phenomenal reach for what was a PhD student sort of project of interest, and he was able to cobble together a small team to help keep maintaining it. And we're happy to say that the ArcGIS platform was able to support that. But that's absolutely incredible. And then finally, and sort of closer to home, is the work that the Melbourne office does. So we work in an area that we call field operations, and what this means is creating location-aware apps that support the planning and management of work out in the field. Coordinating work, collecting data from the field, and managing that work. That's the core of what the Melbourne team does. So some of the things we work on are noted here: Survey 123, quick capture. We also have ESRI has a low-code cross-platform app development framework called App Studio. We work on that in the Melbourne office, and it's what these applications, Survey 123 and quick capture, are built on top of. So with those, and again, this is to the Melbourne office, the work that we're doing in field operations. Some of the applications of those mobile apps are pretty varied, actually. And so here's a few examples, just to sort of give you a sense of how this is used in the world. This is a snapshot of a website called CSIT, and CSIT is an organization that reports voter disenfranchisement and issues where people are trying to prevent others from voting. And so they use Survey 123 and the ArcGIS infrastructure to help report on those issues as they happened in real time. This is a census being taken in Liberia, and you can see on the right is Survey 123 survey. So I didn't really explain what Survey 123 is. It's the combination it's a mobile application and the corresponding web service for collecting data out in the field using forms. And so here they are going shop to shop and house to house, asking people questions for this particular survey. This is a group in Indonesia at a vaccination clinic. I'm not sure what the hand gesture means. I'll have to ask about that. This is actually a pretty interesting one. This will come up in a few minutes. We'll talk about this a bit more. But a small city in the southeast of the United States put together this application on their own using Survey 123 and our App Studio. And what they've built is an app that lets people go out, take and document the different types of trees that occur within the city bounds. And there's an aspect of machine learning in there that recognizes the types of trees and records it automatically into the survey data. And one of our interns actually helped them get this to work. We'll see that in a few minutes. Here's an app call from Queensland called Crocwise that lets you spot crocodiles. I think approximate rural areas and helps you identify crocodile nests. And it gives them some interaction with the public who report this. They previously had a phone number where people would call in, and people would call in and with the expectation that somebody would go out and do something about a kind of potential hazard. But there was no feedback to the public, and they've released this app. And since then, people report it and then get feedback to the app as to what's going on with it, and it's created a better sense of kind of community involvement and responsiveness on the part of the government. This is an oyster farm in the west coast of the U.S. And here they used to have a manual process for collecting data about the state of their oyster harvest, and they've since kind of come up with a kind of hybrid drone / Survey 123 means of collecting data about these oysters that slash their time for management and down drastically. I guess on the not so nicer end of the spectrum, there's a lot of disaster work that's used with Survey 123. Here's a group of people in Colorado. They're going house to house and they record their findings as they're doing that. And finally, here was an entrepreneur in Finland who had this idea for an app that he wanted to sell to truck drivers, and he was able to take our App Studio and build his app really quick. He's not a professional programmer, but he was able to put this thing together really quick, and he had a business in no time, and he's doing really well. And quite happy about that. So let's see. So the Melbourne team is, again, we're kind of focused on these field apps and doing this work, of course, in the mobile space. We're not based by the 12 Apostles. That'd be very nice. We're over in Albert Park, and we're a fairly small group. I think we're at about 15. And we run an internship program, and the way that works is that we have two types, and I'll show you those in a minute. But we bring graduate students in and give them a challenging project to work on. And so what I have here is a video that's showing some of the most recent projects we've had, and it'd be great if you could see it. This won't play well over this meeting connection, unfortunately, but we will share the link with you, and it's already on YouTube, and I'm not sure if it's on your blog already, but let's give this a try. If you can see it, great. If it doesn't work out, please go check out the YouTube link. You might enjoy it. It's pretty quick. So
yeah, and this link will be in our Discord as well for everybody to look for it later. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this works.
No sound, Davis.
No sound?
No, but I have put those 2 links in the chat.
Okay, that's too bad. Here, let's do this. Since there's no sound, I'm going to narrate. So I'll see if that works as a backup. This is Justin. Justin is an IT student at the University of Melbourne, and he's in his final semester right now. So he came to us with a bit of a background in geospatial sciences, and just a little bit of experience with Python programming. And the project we gave him was to do some image classification for mobile apps. So the scenario is that there's like a city worker, and they go out on the street, and they're documenting where different types of signage exist and the state of affairs of the signage. And so so here's some of the signage, just conventional Australian street signs. And we collected lots and lots of sample signs. And you fed them into TensorFlow, built a model there, and then the result of this rather long process is then we took this model, we put it into our Survey123 app, and the result of the process is you go out, take a picture of a sign, and of course oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Here, let me get back to where I was there. It's all gone sideways here. Let's see here. All right. So the result of the process, he could go out to the field, take a photo of a sign, and it automatically fills in the forms that used to be manual work. So he did that in the space of about 3 months, including 2 presentations. And along the way, I'd mentioned this city of Johns Creek in near Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. They were, they had this ambition to make this app, and they were stuck. And so we got Justin on the phone with them and gave him a tutorial. And a couple of weeks later, the app was in the App Store. So it was kind of exciting turn of events for Justin and for this little bit of research that we're doing. The next project is one by Uvin, who's now on the call. He was a student last year, and now he's an employee with us. No, stop that.
Video's not showing, Davis.
Video's not showing. Okay, can you see this screenshot?
I think we've lost your presentation.
No,
maybe.
You lost my presentation.
View.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, good.
Let's get back. That's no good. And here we go. Okay, tell me if you can see something coming up.
Oh, yep. Looks like we got it now.
Okay, let's see. Where did I lose you? Maybe if I should jump back a bit.
Go on here with Uvin's content.
Okay, well, I don't know if you saw this. Here's Justin out in the field. He's got his mobile app with his model that he built in TensorFlow. And there's the picture, and it recognized it as a speed sign. And then here's Uvin, who's also on the call with us. You can ask him questions afterwards. And he built this app which lets you figure out that if you want to go see some some feature, like a whatever it may be, a hill, a building, whatever it is, it'll help you find a vantage point to see it from, and then it'll help you to get to the vantage point. So here he is. He's kind of clicked on some feature in the landscape. It's figuring things out. It comes up with a plan about where you can see this spot from. I guess that's the Sidney Meyer bowl. It picks a hill that's between his current location and the feature he wants to see, and then it gives him instructions on how to get there. So Uvin built that as part of his internship. And then finally, Jitao. Here's Jitao, who again was, he was a graduate student at the University of Melbourne, and now has been working with us for a while. And again, I'm jumping by accident. Let's see. Oh, terrible. Sorry, the controller.
You might have lost your presentation again there as well.
Lost it again. Okay.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Here we come. Right back. And this one, I hope. Tell me if it comes back up. It should be a black screen at this point, I guess.
Looks like we got it now. Yep.
Okay, got you down. Okay. Okay, and what he built was a plugin to Visual Studio Code that would let you build App Studio projects in on the App Studio framework, which in turn is based on something called Qt. So he so that's a fairly challenging project, and it's been in use by our customers since it got released, which is pretty that's pretty respectable for doing it, for an internship project. That's a pretty sweet internship project. So anyway, I encourage you to go take a look at the video if you can. But returning to the point about internships, so we offer two types of internships. One is a summer internship, and the other is an internship during your school semester. So the summer internships are about 12 weeks. It's full-time work. So you're there like an employee, like the rest of us. Applications are open in September, interviews in October, and it starts in November. And we post these things on our career website, and you'll hear about them through your industry.
Yeah, we'll be posting about them in
school. Yeah, and also through the through the association there. And of course, the other one is our internships within your school semester. So it can fit within your first or second semester. It's typically 20 hours a week. So the first one, or semester one, you apply in January, interview in February, start in March. Semester two, apply in May, interview in June, and start in July. We post about these openings on the ESRI Careers website. But you can also you can contact us for more details if you want to understand, any kind of particulars about how to apply, or you're worried if you don't have the right experience or something to that effect. We're happy to answer questions. And so this is my email address. You're happy to contact me directly. Yeah, look, we aim to give people some pretty interesting research projects to do. You saw a few there, some machine learning, computer vision, mapping application in a mobile device, and a plugin to an IDE that has an audience and users. We aim to give people a lot of experience, and so a few of the people that go through the programs end up working alongside us, and that's a great outcome. And let's see, that's the end of the content that I wanted to present, and I think we're open to just talking about ESRI in the Melbourne office and anything you may be interested in.
Yeah, so we've been getting some questions in the chat. So Drew asks, are these open for international students, the internships?
They are, and we, I think that there's some preference toward people who have some kind of
a permit to work.
Yeah, a permit to work. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
The internships are paid. I see there's a question about that there too.
The only one I haven't answered in the chat, I don't understand the question, if maybe it could be asked again. Will that be offered online? Could whoever's asked that question?
Like a remote internship? Is that what they're maybe asking?
Yeah, basically because we international students are still not in Australia, Melbourne, if we will be able to join online.
I think we have a solid answer. I think we prefer the people would be local.
Yeah. So we're about to move back to we're working towards moving back into the office. So
yeah,
our greatest intent is for any incoming interns to join us there.
Yeah, I think that probably provides the best outcomes for students and us alike in that situation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Personally, I'm interested, do the interns choose their own projects, or do you kind of have some things lined up that you want people to work on?
Yeah, we had things lined up, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we're always cooking something up, so something interesting along the way. And we you know, the projects are industry focused, right? They're relevant to the end users who use our products or platform. So they're not just projects out of thin air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marika, do you want to talk about the current internship and the project that you have on hand, or? I mean,
yes.
it's not computer science, but
yeah. So
directly, but you know,
we have kind of two primary roles that we hold in our R&D centre. So we do a lot of everything, but primarily we kind of have two types of work. One being developers who implement design or implement new parts of the product, and the other sort of category are classified as product engineers. And I personally product engineer, and my role encompasses all parts of I suppose life cycle, frankly, except for writing the code. So things like testing, documentation, creating scenarios for users to follow. A lot of those images that Davis showed in his presentation were examples of either real life projects or projects that were created to help and assist customers. So our current intern is a product engineer, and that project is to help us flesh out how we can help customers use our software to do a population census. So every 10 years here in Australia and similar timeframes around the world, governments embark on a huge data collection project that takes a lot, has a lot of data being imported, and in some places they actually have enumerators go door to door and actually collect the data. Here in Australia, you get the form, you fill it in. But in a lot of countries, somebody's actually turning up to your door to fill in the survey. We've had a number of customers attempt to use our software for different parts of that project, because obviously it's very complex. But we really want to put together a best in show or some sort of implementation guide that people could take to make sure that they consider all parts of that project right from the beginning. Often they've come to us halfway through or towards the end, and maybe have gotten stuck because they haven't considered all parts of the project. So our current intern is going to look to put together an implementation guide on what's the best practice in performing a population census with our software.
It's on that kind of note that, and to underscore what I guess I was trying to communicate at the beginning, is that a lot of the ESRI products and a lot of the work we do really comes back to having an impact on people's lives directly, or in the physical world. We're not doing e-commerce, and we're not running websites just for the sake of having a website. I mean, your population censuses in lots of countries, and that really affects things. So.
And some of the questions that are coming up in the chat at the moment, I suppose I kind of touched on in my explanation there. Although we're an R&D group, we really have to put ourselves in the shoes of our customers, and what are they trying to do? The vast range of applications or application of our software is far beyond any one person can imagine. My background, I studied environmental engineering. The types of projects I've done are more civil infrastructure projects. So I can comfortably envisage people going out in the field to collect or verify data that's of a utility nature, environmental nature. We've got people that have joined our team from different backgrounds, have different prior experiences, because our customers use our software to do everything from measuring factors in the environment, to buildings, to people. The population census is more about a count of people. So those kind of different perspectives, I suppose, of the world is what gives us a better chance at building software that our customers will need and use.
Max, you asked about different technologies and languages. So again, the Melbourne office, we work primarily on a C++ platform called Qt, which is spelled QT. So and that also comes with it's a combination of a C++ framework and a front end framework called QML. So QML is it's a declarative language. You might think of it kind of like XAML and HTML and that kind of thing. And within QML, you can code the business logic in JavaScript. So that's that's something you might consider looking into. Now, within the kind of the developer group in Melbourne, there are the developers making the apps, and there are also we also have a team that does DevOps. So the DevOps team, we work with a variety of technologies. So there's a lot of, coding-wise, I guess there's a lot of Python and Bash scripts, and dealing with AWS. We use Jenkins for continuous integration, and that's kind of rapidly growing area in the office. So there's as again back to trying to give you a story about ESRI that shows you what's happening behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, we're a tech company like lots of other tech companies. We do have that kind of specialization in the office too. So it depends on what your interests are. I guess there's the more niche stuff too, which is that the machine learning and computer vision bit is really a specialization, and with its own kind of tech stacks that integrate into our mobile work, but it's its own kind of unique space. And that's something that we want to develop further, and if people have interest in that, we'd love to hear about that too.
On the question about how much knowledge is expected, that's really quite interesting, because actually the fact that somebody coming to us as an intern has low prior knowledge is actually very valuable, because as soon as you start learning about the product, some of our introductory materials, our learning materials, are hard to read for somebody who actually has that knowledge. So the very first thing we are very excited about is being able to show you those learning materials and see how good if they are good enough for you to learn what to do. So when you come in with actually a low prior knowledge, it's a great opportunity for us to test out some of our learning materials. And a little while ago, I actually said that I'm not a developer and I don't necessarily like writing code. Saying that, with our product, App Studio, even I've been able to write an app to put in the store. So we're creating tools that are supposed to reach to a broad audience. So even with a low prior knowledge, we hope and feel that you should be able to actually get started building an app quite easily.
Yeah, I think to underscore what Marika says, there's a lot of opportunity in this space. As we showed, Justin came in with a background in geospatial sciences and some experience with Python, but he wasn't like a developer candidate, for example. But within a couple months, he was able to put together this product, and it was and he had an impact on a customer directly, and that was a really great outcome. And so I wouldn't exclude yourself, or be too hard on yourself up front. I think we're open to people with different kinds of experiences. So.
Yeah, and Benji is asking here about the SDK, which personally I'd be interested in too. The apps like the Mapper, Trees, and Crockwise sounds exciting in terms of using the tools to produce other things as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Global scale games and apps. Yeah, there is some ESRI development around games, but I'm not certain about that myself, so I won't speak to it. Maybe we could have a conversation about that later. Similarly with the SDKs, I guess it depends on what you want to do. ESRI is the ArcGIS platform is pretty big. You can do all kinds of things with it. And so I guess the answer is it depends on what you want to do. If the question is about kind of comparing ESRI and Google and in the space of mapping, I'd say we're up there. So yeah.
I think I don't know the main difference, and I haven't done a lot of research into Google's SDKs, but I think the main difference. Unfortunately, when you describe what you do to your family, you have to generalize things. So often when I still, after 20 odd years in this game, to extended family, you have to say, Google, those map things, sure, that's kind of what I do. But really it is quite different. And I think a big part of Google's business is actually the data, right? So the place where they make money and they add value to their greater business is in the data collection and what they can attach to it. Whereas ESRI's primary focus is more about the tooling for you to be able to collect and maintain and manage your own data. So they're kind of equal size silos, but coming from two probably not opposite directions, but different emphasis.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I just had a question. So in regards to, you've got the office in Melbourne, do you expect that to continue to expand or stay roughly at the same size team over the coming years?
I think expand.
Yeah, we do have plans for expanding it.
So we have concentrated on the team here in Melbourne, but we do also work quite closely with our colleagues, mostly in California, on the East Coast. There's a few that are actually not in the Redlands office. But also we collaborate with the Beijing R&D Centre, particularly on Survey 123. So our day is definitely heavily weighted towards our overlap time with our teammates, our international teammates. But it means that we have quite a diverse team, obviously geographically, which is great, but also, so not just geographically, but also in skills and background. So although we concentrate on obviously the development of the apps, to get an app out to market, we have to work with other teams, of course. So marketing and product management and sales and tech support. Primarily, they are not in Melbourne, so that's one key area where we are working closely with our international colleagues.
Ben asked about App Studio and how well integrated it is with mobile map SDKs. Yeah, look, with App Studio, you can get a mobile map, a cross-platform mobile map application in like a couple minutes. So there's a tremendous amount of functionality already available out of the box in the libraries, the ArcGIS libraries. And so I guess again, back, questions are like, what do you want to do with it? You just go take a look at App Studio. You can sign up for a free account with ArcGIS Online and try out App Studio, and you can have an app running in a couple minutes. In fact, it comes with a number of examples. You can just click it, and you'll have your Android or iOS app, or even a desktop app with the same code base in a couple minutes. It's pretty sweet.
Nice. Yeah, I've used Qt like the tiniest bit, so I got to check it out properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Ben's going to check it out. If we have any further questions, we go. Whoa, maybe not.
Hi.
No, let's go.
Sorry, can I ask one question? I saw a little bit of 3D graphics and like game development as well. So I'm a game design student, so I'm curious where ESRI is in that sort of space, especially with VR and AR as well.
There again, as I said, ESRI, the ArcGIS is a big company, lots of stuff going on. So there are people working just in that kind of space, and maybe we can direct you to the right folks. I can't speak to it directly myself. I just know that it's going on, and you saw some little snippets in some of the slides there. So.
And I would say that a lot of those are either very specific projects with sort of a one-on-one customer relationship or research projects. We have done some research particularly with AR. And although the research is great and technology is there, when we look to scale things out to the point where we can make something that's a generic tool that anyone could use and download on any phone, for example, that's where things start to get a little bit curly. So for augmented reality, you need to be able to overlay the features in your GIS on the real world. Now, if you have complete control over your hardware and your software, that kind of thing can be done quite nicely. And, this is why Apple builds their own hardware and builds their own software, right? Because they get to have control both ends of the stick. Some of the research that we did with it, although it was really great on some devices, you can't dictate what phone somebody's going to install your app on. And if that phone doesn't have a compass sensor or some of the other sensors that are required, what looks great on the latest iPhone might not look great on, the iPhone that you've handed down. Maybe you should have handed down to your mum. So we found a really big range of results when we were testing out these kind of apps. So although very cool and brilliant research, very exciting research projects, unless the sort of the target audience is narrowed down to somebody using particular hardware or for a very particular purpose, and you can tune the app to suit that particular purpose, that high scale deployment for the world to run an app, it would basically not there yet. And when I say we, I mean hardware and software and everything that's needed.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I guess you guys are putting a lot of focus on trying to improve the efficiency of these, the AR and VR processes so that it can run on more lightweight devices.
So one of the reasons we chose Qt for building our app was that product takes care of the cross-platformness. So prior to building App Studio, we had another app, and cross-platform back then meant Windows and Windows Mobile. So you could build one code base that could run on the two different platforms. We knew we had to move into Android iOS world, and we knew the complexities of being able to build an app for different platforms. Qt gave us that cross-platform development and the ability to build write once and build everywhere. So a lot of the functionality that we introduce in our apps is actually kind of dictated a little bit by what's available in the underlying frameworks. So Qt is one of them. Obviously, the ArcGIS runtime is the other. So we, very large teams have been working on putting 3D into runtime. That's awesome. As soon as they got it into runtime, we inherited it immediately in App Studio. So we spent the time in building the app configuration environment. We inherited 3D from them. Similarly, as other teams expand their knowledge and research in areas such as AR, we will get to inherit what's being developed in Qt in the runtime. This is one of I think one of the beauties of the way we've gone about building these apps, so that we can, I suppose, stand on the good work of these other teams. Oh yeah. So Qt, interestingly, doesn't have a very high profile, but apparently, I didn't realize this, pretty much every in-flight entertainment system in the major airlines actually uses Qt to drive that system. It's very hidden. It's very it's used in a lot of embedded systems, washing machines. And yeah, and I suppose our usage of it kind of hits a whole other family of devices. The fact that we're building one app that's going to run on your Windows, Mac, Ubuntu, Android, and iOS device means we definitely cover quite a breadth of the product.
Okay, well, as long as there are no further questions right now, if there are, please put them in the chat or feel free to unmute. But it's 5 to 7, so it might be a good time to to start wrapping things up.
Right.
So
right.
I just want to say a huge thanks to Davis, Marika, and Uvin for being here, for telling us a lot more about ESRI and showing us all these amazing technologies they've been working on, and how to get in touch and access their platforms if we want to. It's fantastic. The internship program sounds amazing. So yeah, definitely want to get some of us into that, and I want to say big thanks to Ewan as well for helping put this all together.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. And I'm going to post a link to a Google form in the chat, and I'll put it on the Discord as well. If you could fill this out and let us know what you thought about this event, make sure we can make all of our future events really great. That would be really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make sure to watch the video too.
yeah. I've posted that in the Discord, so there's that as well.
Yeah. Sweet. All right.
Thank you for having us.
Definitely.
And, all right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for sponsoring us as well. It's fantastic.
Our pleasure.
Thanks.
All right.
Yes, thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
everyone.
Have a good night. Bye.
You too.